Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to make a quick little video here showing you one of the big problems I had. I was running my switcher here to test on all my tracks throughout my yard so I could find out, make sure there's no problems with anything. Well, it ran great on this back track, it ran great on this one, and it ran great on all of the other ones in front of me here. But when the switcher got to this track and hit this frog, it shorted out. So, being that it shorted out here, I was saying, well, there's something wrong, you know, with one of the switches. But it did the same thing on the other switch on this track and the other one. So, there's something wrong in this section of track that isn't wrong in the rest of the yard. So I went around and the first thing you want to test though is make sure your frog juicer is okay if you're using them. Now I'm not using a frog juicer, so that wasn't going to be the issue. The next thing you'll want to check is make sure that your feeder wires are connected to your bus correctly. And I did that. I even disconnected a few wires and reconnected them to the bus just to make sure, you know, soldered new wires on my track, just to make sure I had everything just right. I was still getting the issue. So the next step, of course, is to drag out your ohm meter and try to find out what the issue is. Now, if you've never used an ohm meter before, I recommend you get one. They're very easy to use when you're troubleshooting. So this is a cheap little one. I think I got it for 10 bucks off of eBay. It works on a 9-volt battery, so it's very simple to use. So what I've done to troubleshoot is I've set the ohm range to 2,000 ohms. Okay, and you'll notice on mine it's got just a 1 there. And the first thing you always want to do when you have an ohm meter is zero it. So you just touch the leads together and you'll notice that it zeroes out. Okay, that's the first thing you want to do when you're using a multimeter of any type, is zero it out. Alright, so I checked, and I hope you can see the reading on this. I checked the track. So you'll notice that I touched the rails. And when I touch it, you'll see that 1 is still there. So I did it also on the turnout for the rails. And I checked my other switches. Now, of course, that one little bit is because I'm slipping off, but that you see flashing there. But I'm touching all the rails. Now, when I got to this one, when I got to this switch and touched it, even the turnout section was fine. But after I got past the frog, then I touch the rails, and guess what happens? Nothing until I get here, and now look at my ohm meter. Okay, so you see how my ohm meter is jumping around there. It's pretty high, and it's hard to keep these little points on the rails. But so I'm around 300 or 400 ohms in my 2,000 range. So now, what I know is there's something wrong with this track, and that's why my engine kept dying out. Now, if I go to, it's funny, if I go to the next section of track, you'll notice that my ohm meter just is at 1. Okay, but if I go back to the switch, you'll notice that it jumps up again. So that means that there is something wrong with this switch. When the resistance is that high between the rails, you've got a problem. Okay, so since I know it's not any of the other rails, since there's no resistance in the other rails, but there is in this switch. So that's how I found out that this is a bad switch. So all I need to do is take this switch out and replace it. Now this is a brand new switch. It came from the factory like that. So it's just one of those things. Sometimes, and there's a manufacturing defect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it back to microengineering, and of course they'll probably fix it and send it back to me, which is fine, or send me a new one. So I just wanted to let you know, if you do run across an electrical problem like this, that sometimes it's nothing you did wrong, but this is also a way to find out what the electrical problem is. And I have no, one thing I wanted to mention is I have no power applied to this track right now, so the ohm meter is going to work without power applied. I'm just seeing what kind of circuit I have with my ohm meter between the two rails, and since there's such a high amount of resistance, it means that this is a bad switch. There should never be a high amount of resistance when you're testing your rails like that. So anyway, if you have any questions or comments, leave it for me and I'll try to answer it. And I hope you enjoyed this quick little troubleshooting video, and thanks for watching. We'll see y'all later.